Okay, so we're coming over here with another installment on Hamana Rasha, Secrets of Purim. Let's come over here and where are we? Here we are. Here we are. V'noida, ki Hamana Rasha, is drologos gadol. He had a tremendous knowledge of the heavens. We said that he cast a lot, hu-ha goral, miyom liyom, from each day. But Mashin is bar b'sefer Azor, like the Zohar also explains, ki hu v'aseres banav, he and his 10 sons, kol of them called the Sarah klipos, klipim hakitzonim, they have within themselves all of the 10 klipos that have to do with, which represents what we call chitzonius, or false ideas. Chazal says Haman Rasha is astrologus gadol, he's a great astrologer. V'yad chachmas hakochvim, he knew the chachma of the stars. V'yad man asach l'mala, he understood the movements of the universe as God is shining through the heavens. Kamosha asa b'girl, so like we said like this, and he made a lottery. Shehipil, he threw that lottery. The kabun mazav the fi omek yudiyaso, and he had kavana with the things that he was doing with this lottery, whatever that meant. The fi omek yudiyaso, the depth of his knowledge. B'shidu hayitim, how the times change and how different influences change throughout the day and throughout the days and the weeks, etc. V'chazmanim miyom liyom v'chodesh lechodesh. But Patrach Godel Kocho, his power was so strong, Betuma, ad Ma'od, so tremendously power in Tuma. Haman Ubanav Kolon called Ezer Sphira Shebeklipas. Now there's a comment over here on the Hakavanot, so it's a logical to talk about. But Parat B'Masha Kasa B'Zever Zohar, this is what we're quoting here. He says, "Kihu v'chasaras banav, kol of them called asarak klipin hagitzayim." So he said, "L'chayret sarak lahabin." So you have to understand this. Shahaman yachad in b'sar b'nadav heim yud aleph. There comes to 11 v'lo eser, and it's not the 10 spheros. It's 11. There's an extra one. Ve'ech omer kan shehem keneged eser spheros the kali. So how can we say that the 11 of them corresponds to the 10 spheros of kali? There's one to extra. But it's explained in the Divrei Harav, the common makomas in many different places, Shabbat Klipa, who Tomed Yud Aleph, became Beketara Shama'ala Birurim, Betocha Klipos, Yeshud Aleph Sabaminim. Vatam Chusha Milvad, Yesham Esa Spheres Hatemeo, Shadachem Yesh Bechem Gam Esa Nitzas Hakadosh Hamachayosam. But nonetheless, they always are counted as 11, even though there's 10. So how do you get to 11? This is what the Rav explains in the Eitz Chaim. He explains the Inyan Yud Aleph Siman Ektaris. So the Inyan Yud Aleph Urias Izim, and it also goes with the 12 curtains that were made out of goat hide. Yud Aleph Arurim B'Parshas Kisavo, and the 11 curses over there. Haim Yud Klipos the Noga. Now we have to go over these words. He said the Yud Klipos of the Noga. These are the Klipos of the Noga. That is the interface between total Klipa and Kedusha. V'yesh B'chem Chiyuz the Kedusha the Chachiyosem, and they have how they are managed to portray themselves or have any acceptance amongst humanity and the conscience of people. Is because v'yesh bechem chiyus kedusha, because their life force that they allows them to manifest themselves comes from kedusha. V'hinei b'yud sphira shel the kedusha ha'chiyus shelachem nivla or oz b'sochem v'nechshavim liyud bilvav, and so therefore that kedusha is part of the 10. And it's considered a part of them as like that you're dealing only with 10. It's the power when inside of them. But that's the way it is in Kedusha, but in Klipos, it never really gets to swallowed up into them, because you can't take something which is profane and mix it in with something which is kadosh. Omed al rosham, but rather it stands up above them. Misham me'erlechem. This is called a makif, so it's like a makif to them. It can't actually get inside of them. They can't absorb it. If they absorb it, then they be kadosh too. So therefore, it stays outside of them and shines on them and gives them energy. This is the kinds of like this, and when you add more into it, you make it less. So then he writes like this. Let's see if he's got something for me over here. Ki hu v'aseres banav, kolim kol asara klipin, hachitzonim. So he has a double language. So the chitzonius and klipim are pretty much the same idea. In other words, they're divorced from kedusha. And he knew in his wisdom of the stars, inyan miyot hashgacha yizbarach al Yisrael, the fact that the Jewish people are going through a period of dormita, which is what he's been talking about all this time. Because now the Zer Anpin is sleeping. So you saw really a wondrous thing that the Rav is telling us here. That he had tremendous knowledge. He had a tremendous, vast knowledge of the universe. As matzav hasfiras al yonas, he knew exactly where the spheres, which sphera that the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu poured through at that particular time. But even so, that he understood that phenomenon is happening through the intermediary of the star, so to speak. But he missed. He's a Russia, and so we understand that he never really got it right. That all the thoughts that people can have, even though whatever you see always has the ability either to be good or to be bad. If the person's not meritorious, that the person winds up in the deepest depth, called the shul tachtips. In other words, falling out of real life altogether. Yazrena Hashem Yisbarach, so Hashem should help that person, leilech b'derek emes v'yasher, to go in the right way. Now let's move on a little bit. There was a little thing that we added over there. Let's go over to number Yud Gimel here up at the top, and let me see, find it down here. Here it is. The truth is that the dark times that we experience in our lives, this is a very important psychological lesson also, that we receive in our lives, so that the nekeva, the female aspect, should separate, and the Jewish people will be redeemed from this. And the basic Mikdash will be redeemed again, rebuilt. The both of them, they both knew this, that the whole idea of the deep sleep, he rocked the Tovas Yisrael, is only for the good of the Jewish people. And this will allow for the separation of the female aspect from the male. And she be able to stand with him face to face. And then you'll see the redemption. And what they wanted to do was stop this. So they got together. The two of them, they saw this. They were both out. Apparently this man, Achashverosh, was no fool either. He had great ideas. He was able to see all of these things, and he was able to manage to get a hold of the whole Persian Empire. Now he's combining with Haman for our destruction. He's saying like, they're saying like this, that their God is sleeping. So they should get together now and destroy the Jews. Even though there won't be a very small remnant of them, get them all out. Have we heard this, unfortunately, before are we hearing it now? Vayidei Cain, and through this, lo yivne beis hamikdash, they will not be able to rebuild the beis hamikdash. At least a question for me is that what bothers them so much about building the beis hamikdash? What bothers them? What do they want? What do they get out of it? For if there's no beis hamikdash, well, how is that better for Haman and Achashverosh? So he said, they knew that. It's Yatzel Benechem the Bant of Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Ayedei Sheyashmidu Chas v'Sholem, as so Nechem Shal Yisrael, in order to be able to destroy the Jews. Bizman Zecher Bechadashah Dormita. And I'm really concerned about the language that this is the language of the Rab. Let me see how I'm misunderstanding and understanding it. He said, Lebato Binyan Beis Hamikdash, Ayedei Sheyashmidu Chas v'Sholem, that they should destroy, as so Nechem Shal Yisrael. And I'm translating it that the haters of the Jews will be able to destroy the Jews. I don't see it exactly in those words. I think that's what he means. Bizman Shal Dormita. And when can this be done? At the time when the sun is not shining, in the dark, when there is no Zeranpin. So then he says, when the time of the redemption will come, because they know that the revolution will come around, it'll come around again. Lo yihi la Kodesh Baruch Hu as mi legoel. We wouldn't have anybody, the Kodesh Baruch Hu, to redeem. The Jewish people will be gone. And I guess the idea then is that Achashverosh and Haman, they'll do whatever they want. There's no morality in the world anymore. V'lo yivin the beis hamikdash, then they will no longer rebuild the beis hamikdash, makom l'chashras the Shechina, because they don't want to have anything to do with morality and the Shechina. And their thought was like this: the Yom B'yom, they should have on a certain day, be'ezaki, and a certain time, because they knew the times. Yesh b'chinas histalkos hashgachasa yizbarak v'yochel. That's the time when Hashama, that the light of a Kodesh Baruch Hu is no longer within Zeranpin as it was, and Zeranpin is going to go to sleep, and that's the concept of the sun relinquishing its ability to relate to the lower worlds. Machmas hadormita shel Zeranpin. So a little bit more. So then I know that Atzas Chama. So then we know about the advice that Haman gave. Min Shamshai Sifra Beno. He had a son who was a scribe, Shamshai. Uksiveihem, the things he wrote down. El Achashverosh Hanikra is Artash Chaza. That's the way they pronounce it. Maybe in their language, I'm not sure what the difference is. But Sefer Ezra, that is the name that's brought to us in the Sefer Ezra. Shebidlu Binyan Beis Hamikdash, to the point that completely nullified the construction of the Beis Hamikdash. Berosem ki higia zemanu l'ribonos, because the time and their understanding of when it had to be rebuilt, Vadai Bezeh, was at this time. Now let me see what he says. He says, maybe Rasha Iker Masha Ratza Haman Achashverosh. This is the main thing they didn't want. Because that would put Hashem as the ruler of the world, and they wanted to be rulers. Mehamavur b'Sefer Ezra, that Sosha Koresh Harishon. So this is the story over there. That the first Cyrus, Nasim Rishus the Yisrael la'alos v'livnois is Beis Hamikdash Hasheni. V'alo chelem miYisrael la'eretz Yisrael. V'hachelo livnois as Beis Hamikdash, and they began to build the Beis Hamikdash. Until Shamshei HaSofer sent to the Shu Shamshei ben Haman, that's his name. Cost of Satna, he was against them. The Satna, so I'm not cost of Satna, I says, I can't quite make the Satna, the cost of the Satna Achashverosh. Was Siva Achashverosh lahapsik the benois as a migdash. So he Satna, that he, in other words, he said Lashon Hara about the Jews. He complained to Achashverosh, the son of Haman, that the Jews are starting to build the temple again. So then, Siva Achashverosh lahapsik the benois as Beis Hamikdash, he sent out and they stopped building. So this is all the advice The whole thing is going on for the ultimate destruction of all the Jews. The Grom Shalo Yivnecha Bebeis HaMikdash should cause that they should not rebuild again the Beis HaMikdash. Be Rosam, to see them, Shehigira Ziman Shetzar Kavala Hibonos, that the time has already come to rebuild it. So he says, let's a little bit. So I think we're going to stop right there. That's going to be the shiur for today, and we'll move on.